Hello everyone, this is Mikey Garcia.
Yo, it's your boy, the odd guy himself, Malik King Scott.
Hi, I'm Charlie Edwards.
This is Fast Eddie Chambers, and you're listening to the BoxHard podcast with my main man, Joey Coastman.
Hello everybody and welcome to the 8th episode of the BoxHard podcast. I'm your host Joey Coastman. I'm joined again by Mr. Ayaz Sumra. Ayaz, how you doing?
I'm good, Joey. How are you?
Very good, very good. Before we get into today's show, I just want to give a shout out to one of our biggest loyalist podcast listeners, a big shout out to my good friend Aaron, and I know he's going to be listening to this on the way to work, so big shout out to him. If anybody else wants a shout out, you know where to go. Just follow us, send us a tweet, send us a DM, whatever, at BoxHard Podcast on Twitter. Moving on, I'm going to get straight into the first part of the show. This show is called Review and Preview. The first part of the show, we review the fights from last week. The second part of the show, we preview the fights coming up this week. So I'm going to get into the review part. We're going to start on the Wednesday. There was a card in Russia. Povetkin, he faced Mariusz Wach. This was a really tough fight, Ayaz, wasn't it? A lot of people wasn't giving Wach a chance, but it was always going to be a tough fight.
It was a very tough fight for Wach, but obviously Povetkin won. Now there's rumours that Povetkin could fight Deontay Wilder in his next fight for the WBC belt.
Yeah, I'm dying to see that fight. It was a good fight. I mean, he pretty much won every single round. I mean, it was a TKO victory for Povetkin in the final round, round 12. And that's the second loss on Wach's career. But again, doesn't necessarily mean his career stops, does it, Ayaz? Do you know what I mean? He's only got 2 losses, one to Vladimir Klitschko, one to Povetkin. There's no real shame in that. You know what I mean? They're both Olympic gold medalists, both top boys in the heavyweight division.
Yes, it is. Obviously, like if it's with fighters, you come back, you lose, you come back again, and you win. That's what every fighter does. And obviously, Marcus Wach, in my opinion, will come back better again.
And how do you see Povetkin? If he did go into the fight with Wilder, how do you actually see that playing out?
In my opinion, I reckon it's a 50-50 fight, and this, in my opinion, will be a big test for Wilder. Obviously, his fight Dupas, who was remains to win, but I reckon this is probably the biggest step up for Wilder, in my opinion, because obviously Povetkin is a very strong fighter.
Yeah, no, he is, and he punches hard. He's a good all-round fighter. He's got a lot of skills. A lot of people, I think it's a mixture of opinions when it comes to Povetkin. A lot of people think he's overrated, and then a lot of people think he's underrated. So it's like, I think he's bang in the middle. I don't think he's too overrated or too underrated, but we'll see anyway. We'll see. Moving over to Saturday night now. There was a card in Germany, just one fight that we forgot to mention last week. I just want to throw it out there. Firat Arslan, he picked up his 36th professional win with a 2-round KO over Patar Adushvili. A bit of a journeyman, to be honest, but good win for Arslan. Didn't think he was even going to fight again, to be totally honest, after the clash with Marco Huck. Okay, moving over to Ireland, there was a card over there. Jamie Cox. I don't know if you saw this fight, Ayaz, but Jamie Cox absolutely did a demolition job. He fought a guy called Ferenc Albert, but I mean, I don't know much about Albert, but Jamie Cox, who's a massive prospect, Frank Warren can't stop talking about him. They really think he's going to be, go on to big things. And he's picked up his 20th win now, so he's 20-0. And I swear to God, watching him, he just demolished him. And it was a real brutal knockout. And he knocked him down twice, if I remember correctly. The second one was just, oh God. This man's a real, believe the hype. This man's a real demolition, real prospect. I want to see what he can do. I want to see him move into some big fights. Again, he is now the European super middleweight champion. We've got a big crop of boys from the UK, haven't we, Ayaz? Do you know what I mean? From Britain, should I say. We've got Jamie Cox, we've got all these boys coming up. Jamie Cox, Callum Smith, we're going to go on to his fight later. Rocky Fielding, George Groves, James DeGale. Carl Froch is basically retired, but we just don't know if he can be tempted into another fight. And that's just the ones off the top of my head. We've got we could really do like a Super 6 in Britain. It'd be absolutely fantastic, Ayaz. What do you reckon?
That, in my opinion, would be perfect. Obviously, we've got Callum Smith, James De Gea, Martin Murray, who can beat Arthur Abraham, and obviously Carl Froch with potential if he comes back to that fight.
Yeah, my apologies for leaving out Martin Murray there. Moving down the card, also Jamie Kavanagh moved to 20-1. He picked up his 20th win with a TKO victory over Oscar Fico. I think he may have underestimated Oscar Fico because Jamie Kavanagh didn't look too impressive throughout most of the fight until he got the TKO win, to be honest. There was a few rounds he won quite clearly, but the beginning of the fight he was getting hit way too often, to be honest. But we moved down that card. There was a bit of a grudge match. Peter McDonough against Dean Byrne, and that was for the vacant Irish welterweight title. Peter McDonough picked up the win on points after 10 rounds. Jamie Conlon moved to 15-0. He fought Adrian Dimas Gorzon. Jamie Conlon won with a TKO in the 4th round. Ian Timms, he got a win against Michael Sweeney. That was on points in the cruiserweight division. Although Timms was down in the 4th round, he went on to win. Sean Turner, big sexy Sean Turner, he was also out. He moved to 7-0 with a 1st round TKO over Gabor Farkas. And also Vijender Singh, the big star, the big Bollywood star turned boxer, ex-policeman, ex-actor. He has now moved to 2-0. He was also on the bill, one of the early fights. He fought Dean Gillen, who was 2-0 himself, unbeaten. And Vijender Singh, he will be looking for his 3rd outing, I think, just before the end of the year. I think that's it for the Irish card. Yeah, I think that is it for the Irish card. So we'll now move over to Monaco. There was a fight in Monaco that we mentioned last week. Provodnikov, he fought Jesus Alvarez Rodriguez, and he was unbeaten, Mr. Rodriguez. He was unbeaten. Provodnikov, 24-4. And Provodnikov got a TKO in the 4th round. I must admit, I haven't seen this fight at all. I'm not sure if you caught it either, Ayaz.
No, I haven't caught it, but I know the fact that he's won. And he with his new trainer, Joe Diaz.
Yes. Yeah, again, we'll see what his future holds. I don't know much about his opponent, although he was unbeaten, but it's nice to see Provodnikov with another win. You know, he's a good fighter. Moving over to the big show in the Echo Arena, Liverpool, which is a fantastic venue for boxing, I may add. Callum Smith, Rocky Fielding. I don't think there's anywhere we can start apart from this fight on this particular bill. Callum Smith, I'm speechless. I mean, what do you think about that fight, Ayaz?
Wow, what a fight he was. Did he knock him down 3 times, is that correct?
Yeah, 3 times he was down in the 1st round, yep.
And Callum Smith, his power in his punching, oh my God. I thought, like, you know what, I thought this fight would be a knockout, but I didn't think that Callum Smith would take him out in the 1st round, in my opinion.
No, I didn't either, to be totally fair. I did say last week that I thought if it was going to end with a knockout, I thought Callum Smith would get that knockout, but I also thought that if it went to points that Rocky Fielding would be in for a shout. He didn't really get enough time, to be totally honest. I don't know if he was caught cold. I don't want to throw that out there and say that could have been part of it. I'm not trying to knock Callum Smith's effort, because I think Callum Smith was absolutely tremendous, and he just crushed him, to be totally honest. Rocky Fielding now 21-1, so Callum Smith has given him his 1st professional loss on his career. Callum Smith now moves to 18-0, and Callum Smith, the new British super middleweight title holder. It would be nice to see him fight someone like George Groves, wouldn't it, Ayaz?
Yes, a fight would be very good. It would be either George Groves, Martin Murray, and James De Gea. And one other thing to add on to your point, he's now the 4th brother from the Smith to win the British belt.
That's absolutely right. I should have brought that up. Yeah, they've all held the British title. Yeah, Callum, Stephen,
Liam, and Paul.
Yeah, and Paul. Yeah, again, you know, it's even hard to remember all their names. There's just so many of them, but they've all managed to do that. That's amazing. Think how proud that their parents must be. Yeah, so that's fantastic news for the Smith family. How do you see that fight going? Just moving back to the potential fight that Callum Smith could fight George Groves. How do you see that going? I know that Johnny Nelson has been airing his opinion on Twitter about it. He reckons that Callum Smith will win that easily. I don't really think it's fair to say that, because I remember the biggest fight he's had was the Rocky Fielding fight, and you can't say, I mean, no disrespect to Rocky Fielding, but you can't put him in there with someone like George Groves. You know, George Groves has fought for the world title 3 times. You know, Rocky Fielding, he's got a nice record, 21-0, but he hasn't really fought anyone on the world level. He's fought a couple of fringe level type of opposition, but he hasn't fought anyone who's been in like the top 10, top 15, has he? Do you know what I mean? So, how do you see that fight going?
In my opinion, George Groves wins, but there's rumours that by next year that Callum Smith could face Badou Jack for the WBC.
And who'd you back in that fight?
Ooh, that's a very tough one, because Badou Jack obviously beating George Groves, but with Callum Smith, he hasn't fought a big name boxer yet. So it depends where the fight is. If it's in America, like I said, Badou Jack will probably win. But if it's in UK, Callum Smith wins the fight.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm a big fan of Groves. I'll be honest. I'm a big fan of George Groves. However, it's hard. You know, it's hard. I mean, we need to see more of Callum Smith to accurately predict what he's going to do. But if they did fight, I mean, everything's kind of with Callum Smith, isn't it? You know what I mean? The height. Callum Smith's 6'3". He's a massive super middleweight. Big reach. Good jab. Oh my God! When he throws a shot to the body, it's just you can almost feel it, even though you're watching it on TV. You know, you'd have to say he's got more power than George Groves. I mean, I know George Groves is a big banger. He can really punch, but Callum Smith, you know what I mean? I'm not sure. I could say he's probably got a bit more power than George Groves, to be honest. Especially now that George Groves has left Adam Booth, and he was with Paddy Fitzpatrick, and now I'm not sure what he's doing. But ever since he left Adam Booth, the power kind of left him. We didn't really see any knockouts. Do you know what I mean? It'll be very interesting. But anyway, moving down that bill, Scotty Cardle faced Sean Masher Dodd. Now, this was a very hard fight for Scott Cardle. He did not make it easy for himself. He went in there thinking he was going to walk over Sean Dodd, but Sean Dodd made it super hard for him. And he was actually, I believe, winning on 2 or 3 of the judges' scorecards at the time of the stoppage. Sean Dodd was stopped. Scott Cardle picked up the TKO victory in the 12th round. Yeah, Cardle was cut above Cardle was cut above both of his eyes, and on the forehead, and on the side of the head. Dodd was cut on the left eye. This was a really cracking fight. All the crowd got behind Dodd, and it was really good. It was really good. If you haven't seen it, you need to try and watch that one. Also on the card for the vacant WBO International Lightweight title, Ricky Burns fought Josh King. Ricky Burns picked up a KO in the 11th round. You know, it's a bit hard when you've got Box Nation on live and you've got Sky Sports 1 on live, and you're flicking between them both and you can't really watch them at the same time. I'm one of those people who's a bit annoyed about that, you know. When you've got both channels, you pay for both channels and they're both on at the same time, which means you're paying for them both, but you can only watch one. It's a bit annoying. You know, it's a bit annoying. It would be nice if they did something to... I know they're big rivals and they're never going to work together, but it would be nice if something could be worked out, because it's annoying. I mean, I missed the Ricky Burns fight because I was watching... I'm not sure which fight, but I was watching a fight on Sky. Tom Doran was also on the bill. He moved to 16-0. He fought Rod Smith, who was also unbeaten. Tom Doran picked up a 3rd round KO. O'Hara Davies, Matchroom prospect, he was also on the bill. His opponent retired in the 2nd round, so O'Hara Davies moves to 9-0. His opponent, Chris Truman, he was also down in the 1st round and in the 2nd round. Jake Ball, he moves to 3-0. His opponent retired also, so he moves now to 3-0. Jake Ball, prospect for the future, of course. Also moving over to Miami, Florida, there was a little mention that we need to give to Breedis Prescott. He picked up his 29th professional win. He beat Lacerda, and he's moved to 29-7 now. Breedis Prescott, big banger from Cuba. He's now he picked up that win via unanimous decision. It was only an 8-rounder. Tim Bradley now. We'll move over to the Thomas and Mack Centre. Las Vegas, Nevada. Timothy Bradley, Brandon Rios. Talk to me, Ayaz.
What a fight that was. Obviously, everyone knew the favourite to win this fight was Timothy Bradley. Brandon Rios, in my opinion, obviously, he's just retired now after losing this fight. But we're gonna miss Brandon Rios for not fighting no more. Wow, what a punch that Timothy Bradley actually did. Oh my God.
Yeah, the body shot. Yeah, I think that Brandon Rios. What do you think about him retiring? We'll go back to the fight in a sec, but what do you reckon about him retiring? Do you reckon he should have? Do you reckon it was his time to retire, or was it a bit too early for you?
This is the thing, because obviously he's been in some slug wars, hasn't he? With Alvarado, Pacquiao. He's been in with other fighters as well. But in my opinion, I reckon he should have had one more fight with him.
Well, yeah,
One or two more.
I think he's got it in him, but I just think the hunger's left him. I don't think he's got that burning desire he once possessed. You know, he's over the hill, there's no question about it, and he has got a lot of miles on his clock. I mean, I know you said he's been in wars and all that, but I mean, the Pacquiao fight wasn't really a war. He just took an absolute beating. One fight I would like to have seen was Brandon Rios against Provodnikov. That would have been a proper war.
That would have been a brilliant. That would have been a war.
That would have just been war. You know, like there's some fights and people go, oh, it's going to be a proper war. And it's not. That fight couldn't have gone any other way. It would have just been an absolute war. It would have been, they could have just called it World War III and it would have lived up to that name. What did you think of some of the stuff that Teddy Atlas was saying to Tim Bradley in the corner, Ayaz?
What was this? I literally can't remember what he was actually saying because I was so paying attention just to the fight.
Yeah, no, yeah, I remember because you got a little shout out on Box Nation yourself. I saw that, you cheeky git.
What did I?
Yeah, Steve Bunce gave you a shout out.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah, but do you think Tim Bradley's going to be good under you know, working with Teddy Atlas? How do you reckon they'll work?
Oh, they will gel together properly.
Yeah. Yeah, again, Tim Bradley. I know that Teddy Atlas, he's been calling out Floyd Mayweather. He wants the Mayweather fight for Tim Bradley. How do you reckon that one will go?
Mayweather beats him. That's all I can say. Mayweather he's the all-round best fighter in our generation at the moment.
Ooh, you nearly said in history. I would have had to get you straight off this show if you said that.
In our generation, Mayweather's the best fighter.
Can't really argue with that, to be honest. Moving down that bill, Lomachenko, he also got out. He fought Romelu Kowashi. Oh, I don't know how to say that name. Romelu Kowacicha. Lomachenko picked up his 5th win, just put it like that. It was a KO in the 10th round, and he also put his WBO World Featherweight title on the line, of course. That was really it for the review part of the show. Was there anything you wanted to add on that, Ayaz?
Lomachenko, looking at his performance, my word, he's one heck of a fighter. But one fight I would like to see with him is against Rigandao.
Yeah, we mentioned that on the last show. It would be a cracking contest. Just don't think it's ever going to happen, but we'll see. Okay, and that's it for part 1. We'll see you in part 2. Okay, it's now part 2 of the show. This part's the preview part. So we're going to preview the fights coming up this week. There's a card on Wednesday. Anthony Mundine, he fights Charles Hatley. Mundine looks to move to 48-6. That's obviously in Australia where he is from. There's also a card this week. Edwin Rodriguez, he fights Michael Seals. Edwin Rodriguez record 27-1. That one loss was to Andre Ward, if people remember correctly. If I can remember correctly, should I say. He fights Michael Seals. Michael Seals 19-0 unbeaten. That's in Mississippi. Also, Guillermo Jones, he fights this week. He fights Daniel Cotter. Yeah, that's a 10-rounder. That's in the heavyweight division. Also, there's a couple of other cards. They're just scattered everywhere, to be honest. In Spain, Kiko Martinez, he gets out again. He's only in an 8-rounder. He looks to move to 34-6. He's fighting Everth Briseno 35-12. He's just a bit of a journeyman by the looks of things. Also, there's a little card in Bristol. well, there's not a little card in Bristol, it's pretty big. Nick Blackwell, he tops the bill. He fights Jack Arnfield. Nick Blackwell now 18-3. Jack Arnfield 19-1. It's for the British middleweight title. It should be quite a good fight. It's a 12-rounder, of course. Also on that bill, Andrew Selby. He looks to move to 2-0. His second professional contest. His opponent hasn't been announced yet. Also looking to move to 17-0, heavyweight prospect Hughie Fury. He's also on the bill. Tyson Fury's brother, Young King Fury, he's also on the bill. He looks to get his 6th win. So if anybody, I'm not sure if that's being televised, that card there, but if anybody's local to Bristol, you should try and get down there. I think there's a few tickets left. Also in the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino, Las Vegas, there is a fight over there. Bermain Stavern, he fights Derek Rossi. Bermain Stavern 24-2 with the 1 draw. Derek Rossi 30-10. This should be quite an easy win for Bermain Stavern. I'm not just going by the records, but we know he's a class act. I think it's a record for the shortest ever preview we've done on this show. There's no other fights. It's a bit of a a bit of an anti-climax this week, but we're getting ever closer to Christmas. A lot of fighters don't like fighting around Christmas. Is there anything else you wanted to mention at all, Ayaz, or should we just sign out with a show?
No, but next week there's another big card in America, the Canelo fight, mega fight.
Of course, we'll leave it till next week. Okay, I think that concludes the 8th episode of the BoxHard podcast. 8 weeks now, it's absolutely flying. Thank you everybody for retweeting, subscribing, listening, following, sending your messages through. We salute you. Thank you very much for listening to this episode. Please come back next week. Take good care.